I kind of guess the key word in that question is diversified. It should bring diversification to a client. You can obviously generate total returns in very many different ways, growth and momentum, etc. And a global equity income strategy should bring you something that's different from that. It should bring you a concentration on a different return profile in order to generate that total return, which should then sit within your other jigsaw of managers and add to the diversification of that, which should then hopefully over the longer term smooth that journey you go on with your total return, which should then allow the clients to stay invested for the longer term and then harness what we would consider to be the most powerful investment tool that most clients have at their disposal, which is time in the market. And so as long as it's offering that diversification to what the rest of your managers are doing, should therefore allow you to differentiate that total return profile to allow your clients to stay invested for a long period of time. So that is the key pressure today, which is that with such a concentrated market in such a narrow area, growth and artificial intelligence, that there is a lot of pressure on managers and their strategies today to drift to that way of investing, whether that pressure be a career risk, you're just underperforming, your risk systems are telling you you should get closer to the benchmark and therefore buy AI growth stocks. And yet a global equity income strategy should try and do something different. And in order to do that, you need some kind of discipline imposed upon you. Now, as a human being, I, for example, are no stronger than any other human being, and so left to my own devices, I would probably run to the herd too. So you need disciplines to stop you doing that, and you need it at every individual stock level. And on our strategy, that's what we have. We have a discipline that ensures that we can only buy certain stocks at certain times when they're yielding more than the market. And what that also means is it excludes parts of the market. It excludes the exciting parts of the market that everybody crowds into. And it keeps you away from that consensus trade in markets, wherever you happen to be, whether it be at the top of a bubble or right at the bottom of a depression. And it's that discipline which is important, particularly right now, to offer that diversification to the end client and not find that your end client wakes up one morning and finds all his fund managers have run over to one side of the ship because you want to try and do something different for them.
Very good. How would you characterise the importance of compounding income versus capital gains in running a global income strategy?
So that is the difference that it should be able to deliver to the client, which is that by focusing upon which element of total return are you going to major on in order to deliver that total return, well, it's either the capital gains, which is where you go for your growth investing, or it's the compounding of the income. Now, if you're going to compound the income, then what you only need to do is get close to the market return if you're compounding a premium income to that of the market. And then mathematically, you should generate a decent total return over time. So that means you need a discipline to ensure we're always yielding comfortably above that of the market. The strategy that we're running today is yielding around 3.8, which is comfortably more than twice of that of the world market today. And so if we can compound that at anywhere close to the capital gain in the market, because it's a bigger number, we're going to get a better total return over time. The focus upon us is not to beat the market in a capital sense, is to invest in companies which can deliver a decent yield, hence the disciplines, and can grow that yield over time, which allows to keep a premium yield to that of the market through time. Now, the consequence of that is when you look at total returns from capital over time, they tend to be far more volatile than a stable income compounded over time. So if you can do that and deliver that total return equation, then you should be able to do it in a lower volatile way with regards to that total return, which we think is an attribute for clients which they find attractive when put together with the rest of their managers in order to smooth the volatility of their total return over time, which, as we said in the answer to the first question, allows them to remain invested over time and harness their most powerful investment.
lastly then, what is your take on businesses paying out dividends versus repurchasing their own shares?
So a lot of people today, a lot of investors today want their companies to buy back their shares. And a lot of companies do that, and particularly in America. And that is because when you look at a textbook, it makes perfect sense to buy back shares as a way of returning value to a shareholder. The problem with it when you come to reality in the world is that they don't do what the textbook tells them to do. So you should buy back your shares below your intrinsic value, therefore transferring the value back to the existing holders. Most companies buy back their shares at all-time high share prices. So you see maximum share buybacks at the top of markets. At the bottom of markets, nobody buys back their shares. So I think in the pandemic fall in the market, we saw 75% reduction in share buybacks during that period. That actually is when the textbook tells you should step in and buy as many shares as possible, but they don't. Secondly, the textbook will tell you then cancel the shares you buy, because then that shrinks your share cap and therefore obviously transfers value to the existing holders. You look at what they do, they tend not to do that. Most share buybacks are there simply to offset dilution of option awards given to senior management. So again, you're not delivering the value to the existing shareholder. Then the final bit is that companies tend to borrow quite a lot of money in order to do the share buybacks. Now, that therefore means if you're borrowing the money to do the share buyback and you're doing it above intrinsic value and not cancelling your shares, you're effectively borrowing money on the company and just giving it to the senior management so they can go and buy a space rocket or something. It is not in the best interest of shareholders. The point about the dividends is not only the power of compounding them through time to drive your total return, it is that there is evidence out there, academic evidence out there, that suggests that companies that maintain a stable and durable dividend through time actually imposes a capital allocation discipline upon them. And that's that quality aspect we want to get from our management, whereas there's no evidence that suggests buying back your shares imposes a capital allocation discipline. If anything, it's actually the opposite. So we don't really want to look at share buybacks in the total shareholder return equation to the end investor, simply because it doesn't tell us the right attributes that we're looking for, and hence the reason why we keep dividend at the heart of what we do.